need for that test? You need a Scantron. You need one of these par-score test forms. Okay? This is the 289. That's the Scantron that you need. All right, it's got the capacity for 100 multiple choice questions on the front and 100 on the back for a total of 200. Okay? You're going to need 2 for the test. Oh, just easy. The test is going to consist of multiple choice questions. Okay, it's going to consist of multiple choice questions. It's going to consist of some true-false questions. And there may or may not be some short answer on there, like fill in the blank type of stuff. I haven't really decided yet what I'm going to do. But it would be like fairly simple fill in the blank sort of stuff. You know, like complete the sentence with the correct term sort of thing. Okay. So it's going to be pretty low key if there is any fill in the blank sort of stuff. So when I was growing up, we had video games, right? We had Nintendo. You guys played Nintendo growing up? Yeah. Well, I had Nintendo, but we also played those 2-player games. My friends and I would, and of course we were dorks just like every other kid growing up. And you know, if we were playing 2 players, one person would always actually play, and then the other person would just hit all the keys on the Nintendo keypad and see if they could beat the person who was actually playing just by random chance. And we always called that character Trudy. Okay? So the idea is that Trudy's right some of the time, but most of the time Trudy's wrong. All right? So Trudy is actually a student in this class, and she thinks that she knows something about anatomy and physiology. So she's going to show up on your test. And Trudy's going to make some statements, and you have to decide if she's right or wrong. Okay? They're true-false questions, but it's more fun if Trudy actually does it. So Trudy will be on your test, and she's going to be making some statements about some things that you've learned so far. And you have to decide if Trudy's right or if Trudy is wrong. Okay? Remember, she's right some of the time, but most of the time she's wrong. So we'll have to see how that goes. All right? And then, like I said, if there are any short answers, they'll be quite short. It's not like you guys are going to be expected to write pages and pages and pages or anything like that. Okay, so that's happening next Monday. Any questions about that? I'll announce it again on Wednesday, but any questions about the test? Yeah?
The fill-in, will we get competition book or anything?
Nope, it'll just be right on the back of the test. So you'll just be able to write right on the test. So the only thing that you need to show up with is a number 2 pencil, an eraser, and one of these. Okay? Okay, so picking up from where we were at last time, unfortunately I have a lot to cover before I can give you an exam on a week from now. All right, so we started talking about cellular organelles last time. Any questions about what we went over? Lots of stuff, right? Okay. You guys are having trouble figuring out ways to study this. You know, remember what I talked about the first day. Use me in my office hours. Come ask questions. Okay? Form study groups. That's a big thing. Big thing is to form study groups. You know, make sure you're reading your book. Make sure you're doing those little self-tests at the end of the chapters. Okay? Your book. Also, I don't have a copy of the book, but right in the front cover of it is a CD. Okay? If you put that CD in your computer, there's more tests that you can take. Okay? Take those tests. Go through those exams as well. It's just more practice for you guys to do well on the test, because even though I don't take my exams straight from those things, you may see some similar questions, okay? So just, you know, it's just more practice, getting used to taking these sorts of exams. Okay, so we did talk about the mitochondria, the nucleus, the cell membrane last time. And I was going to start talking about the next organelle on the list, which is the endoplasmic reticulum. All right, here we have another picture of the nucleus, but there's all these pancake-shaped flattened sacs kind of around the cytoplasm, or around the nucleus. Okay, and the endoplasmic reticulum, or the ER, comes in kind of two flavors. You have the smooth endoplasmic reticulum and the rough endoplasmic reticulum. We're going to talk about differences of those. Here we have an electron micrograph of these of the endoplasmic reticulum, and you see that it does look just like these flattened sacs, these pancake-shaped stacks of discs. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about the rough endoplasmic reticulum first. Okay, the rough endoplasmic reticulum is called that because it has these things called ribosomes attached to the surface. Okay, ribosomes they play a major role in protein production. Okay, remember last time we talked about all the macromolecules and we talked about proteins for quite a while. And ribosomes are required for protein production. Okay, they're required for protein production. And this is, in the rough endoplasmic reticulum is where we see a lot of that protein production taking place. Okay. Also, in the rough endoplasmic reticulum, we also see cell membranes being produced. And we also see secretory proteins being produced. Okay, anytime we see ribosomes, we're going to see proteins being produced. Okay? Yeah, proteins from endoplasmic reticulum ribosomes. This is citing the site of protein production. And I also say modification there. We aren't going to have time, unfortunately, in this class to go into a lot of detail about protein production. But if we did, you know that even after a protein is initially made, it can undergo a lot of modification before it actually is sent off to do its job in the cell. And that's kind of what I'm talking about when I talk about protein modification here. Okay, so these can either become membrane proteins. Okay, remember last time we had our diagram of the cell membrane. Okay, this phospholipid bilayer here. Okay, I could go on and on and on. But remember that there were these, we could also have membrane proteins kind of embedded in the cell membrane. Okay, and we're going to talk about the function of some of those membrane proteins today. Okay, so they can either be membrane proteins or they can be proteins that are secreted out of the cell and go on to do their work. Okay, so add to this a little bit, just so I avoid confusion. Okay. And again, some of those secreted proteins are things like the hormone insulin. Okay, the hormone insulin is responsible for controlling our blood glucose levels, and it's secreted by cells in our pancreas. And then most of these membrane proteins are going to be glycoproteins, so they actually have a little bit of carbohydrate attached to them. Okay, so glycoproteins. Here we have glyco referring to carbohydrates or sugars. Here we have proteins, obviously referring to proteins. Okay, so that's kind of what we have here. We either have phospholipids being made here from enzymes in the endoplasmic reticulum, or proteins that are either going to be secreted or become membrane proteins being produced by the ribosomes in the rough